easy this time. But hold on. I am going to cover up my shoulders. Let me know if you all can hear me, how things are going. I got my mic hooked up. I'm sitting in a pickup truck in the shade, and I thought I wouldn't have lighting, but this lighting is decent. Hello, thank you for the likes. Getting more people on. This is going to be good. We are going to talk about one of my favorite topics. And for those of you who are watching this video later, I will put a timestamp in the description or comments so that you can just pick up from the point when the video actually starts. I am on a residential street in a small town in Montana. Long time no see from Vega. Yep, here I am. You guys remember at the beginning of the Panny, I was doing these lives, and it kind of really helped me get through. And I'm surprised that I'm like on here today and doing decently well, because I had a really challenging morning. All right. So just let me know if you can hear me. Can you just say we can hear you in the comments? I have to remember to look into the camera to talk. It is distracting to see one's own face, so I'm going to cover that up. And hopefully I'll still have my comments. Yeah. Great. All right, so let's get started. I felt compelled to do this video based on Father's Day, which was recent. It was like yesterday, Father's Day. And you know what? It was the first, or maybe it was the day before. It was the first Father's Day, probably ever, where I had just positive emotions. I was feeling really good, and it was because I saw something that helped me make a click or a connection in my mind and put something together, and that inspired me to talk about courage today. And it was a post that said something like, on Father's Day, think of your ancestors, all your male ancestors that came before you, and honor them for the good men they were, or something like that. And I remember thinking, I don't think so, not in my family tree. And so I swiped through on the post, and the post that came after it, which the person had set up, said, and if you feel like there are no men like this in your family tree, I was like, yes, that's me, okay. And it said, think of the ones who came long before that resulted in you being alive that you don't even know about. And something about that really struck me, because I just remember thinking that, you know, my parents were very broken, damaged, unhealthy people. And I've always kind of felt that I had to cultivate these virtues that I wanted to have for myself, because nobody in my family had them. But I'll tell you something. I came into this world with courage, bravery, judiciousness, a number of virtues that I actually came in here with. And when I saw that post, something really struck me. I felt, surely, you know, who knows how many generations down, there have been men in my family tree, or my ancestral lineage that have bravery, dignity, that were excellent protectors, that were wise, that were kind. And 'cause I thought, I must have gotten it from somewhere, and that really struck me. I think it's really sad that in some ways that as a young girl, and even as a woman growing up, and even as a young woman in the world, I didn't have anyone who protected me, who gave me any feeling of being cared for, or safe emotionally or physically. And so I really became that for myself. And I used to be really resentful about that. But now I just see that, things that come up in our lives are really opportunities for us to experience our own inner beauty. And as such, the beauty of the human race and being a human, which is the most difficult thing I've ever done, being a human. I'm telling you, it's the most difficult thing I've ever done. And I think that, it's just really coming to the fore for me now, especially with the times that we're living in. I've always kind of spoke to and warned and talked to millennials and people I knew, like, there's a time coming where you're going to have to be different, where your options are going to be taken away for the way you used to live and the person you used to be. So you should start preparing for it now, right? Anyway, I'm going to try not to scratch my nose, but I had my cat in here. I took her to the vet. It was really cute. The woman at the vet was like, "What's her name?" I'm like, "Cuddle Girl." She's like, "Oh, I feel so sad leaving Cuddle Girl in there. I miss her so much." Hey, Martha Howard. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. So let's talk about courage. The word itself, what do you think courage means? What do you think courage means, the word courage? What does it mean to you? Hey, the hiking guy. Long time. Wow. Hey, guys. What does courage mean to you? So the word courage itself, thank you for correcting the spelling of my name. Greatly appreciate that. I know that it autocorrects to Adele the singer spelling, but I appreciate it. So we know the word courage, the root of it is Latin, it's cor, which is heart. And it also is a similar word in French as well, heart. So essentially it means to live from the heart, to speak from the heart, to have feelings, deep, heartfelt feelings. So it's interesting because if you look at the history of it, it's about action and about feeling. And one thing that I really love about courage, compared to, let's say, bravery, I think bravery is a trait. Bravery is something that you come in with, right? That's what I got some bravery. Okay. Veronica. Oh, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad you showed up, sweetie. How are you doing? Oh, Father's Day for you. I know you must be going through something too. I was thinking about that on Father's Day. People who lost their father, or people who are going through things. So my heart goes out to you. So as I was saying, Steve, hey guys, thank you so much. Montana is great. It's beautiful. The people are friendly, outdoorsy. I just had a chat with the young guy at the gas station. I'll talk about it. I could talk about that a little bit later. But as I was saying, for courage, so with bravery, bravery is a trait, is a personality trait, right? So some people are more brave than others, right? But the thing about courage is courage can be transmuted. It's something that can show just instantly how you can take something that is a universal human experience and something negative, which is fear, right? And with courage, courage is feeling afraid and still going forward. So feeling the fear and acting anyway. And when you do that in that moment, that is a transmutation of something negative that is a universal human experience into a virtue, just like that. So that's what I really love, the idea of courage in that way. I have been thinking about things like this since I was a very young girl. These things have always been on my mind because I was very interested in Greek mythology. I like myths and fables from around the world. I like the African ones with Anansi the spider. I like the Russian ones with Baba Yaga. So I was reading all these experiences and these stories about humans around the world. And I was thinking, and I loved it in movies too, old movies. I don't watch current movies. No. I was about to go off on a rant. I decided to break my I don't watch current movies track and watch that new Angelina Jolie where she was the fire tower girl, because it was, about forestry. And I'm like, oh, cool. And she looks so beautiful. Laughing at Baba Yaga. Yeah, with the house on chicken feet. I don't know if you grew up on that. It was terrifying, but you learned things from it. Oh, I love the girl in that story, Vasilisa. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I watched that Angelina Jolie movie about the forestry, where she was a forestry chick. I regret it. It was full of modern day nonsense. The narratives they like to push now, the social narratives is filled with it, and unrealistic, pretty shallow, but she looked beautiful. I regret it. Watching a modern movie. Anyway, so what was I talking about? The fairy tales, having courage in that way and how it transmutes something. And so I remember asking questions about this when I was a kid. Have any of you seen the movie Willow? I remember something that stayed with me as a kid for a very long time. I recently rewatched the movie Willow for the first time in ever, and it struck me. It seemed like it had so much potential at the beginning, and then like halfway through, it just really drops off and goes to heck. And you can tell it is very obvious ripoff of Lord of the Rings, which is unfortunate. Because if something as good as Lord of the Rings, just leave it. Don't try to copy it. It's not going to work out for you. You know what I mean? Anyway, so there's this scene in Willow at the very beginning where there are these terrifying beasts, okay? There are these beasts. They are like a cross between a dog, like a wolf. They're a cross between a wolf, a rat, and like a boar. Like, they're horrific looking, and it's really cool. Back in the old days when they made movies, they didn't use CGI, so I don't know what the heck they did. They put dogs in these horrific costumes or something. I have no idea. But anyway, so I hope I'm not touching the mic. There we go. So anyways, the opening scene, you have these beasts howling and chasing through the woods, and there's this old lady, and she's running, and these beasts are closing on her, and she's holding a baby. And she gets to the riverbank, and you can hear the beasts are right at, howling, or they're about to be upon her, and she takes it looked like a little raft, to be honest, which is a little too convenient. As far as movie plots go, like, oh, here's a raft exactly where I need it at the exact moment. Okay, so she puts it in the water, she puts the baby on, and she pushes the baby out into the stream to be carried away to safety. And she turns to face these beasts with a stick. And the beasts obviously devour and kill her. And I remember seeing that as a kid, of course, oh man, my eyes just, And I remember asking my mom, like, why did she do that? Why didn't the lady go with the baby, right? Because in my mind, I had a entrepreneur mind from a young age. I'm thinking how to solve this problem in a win-win way, right? So I think, why couldn't she just get on the raft with the baby? Why couldn't she keep running? And my mother said something to the effect of, she had to do that to save the baby, right? And she said she couldn't, she had to make a choice, otherwise they would both die. And I remember thinking, oh, like, it would be so scary to make a choice to get killed by those beasts. You know, as a kid, I'm thinking this, right? And she says, and my mother said something like, if I was an old lady, I'd already lived my life. I would save that baby too, don't you think? She said something like that to me. And I remember thinking, oh, yeah, you know. And it just really kind of stayed with me, because I just always remember thinking, will that happen in my life? Will I have an opportunity where I have to get torn apart by beasts, you know, in order to save somebody? And I remember thinking about that, which is kind of, you know, it's kind of traumatizing, but I mean, I'm so glad I went through that, because to be thinking those kind of things at a young age, it really kind of can help you later in your life. This is why reading is so important for children. Anyone watching this, get your children on those Greek myths, get them on the, you know, the fables and fairy tales from around the world. Get them thinking about those kind of things. So yeah, that always kind of stayed with me. And now as I'm older, I look back on that and I can see a metaphor there of when you have to, I can think of so many metaphors for that scene. One of them is how, you know, you have a baby. Maybe your baby is something vulnerable about you. Maybe it's an idea that you have, or a positive belief about yourself that you hold, and when you're in a hostile environment and you have to defend it, or, you know, protect that side of yourself. Whereas many people, they just allow themselves to be devoured. They allow themselves to be caught. And that part of themselves starts to die down. The vulnerable part of themselves, the things that they're passionate about, the positive beliefs they have about themselves, their ability to speak up and be honest, it gets devoured over time, especially when they're not actively being courageous, feeling fear, and going forth anyway. And yeah, so that's kind of what has been on my mind, especially with the current climate that we're living in. And I have my notes. I've been writing in my diary about courage. Oh no, what is these? Pardon me. It is dusty in this old farm truck, which I love. I love old trucks with personality. And I really miss my SUV back in Canada. We can't come across the border. Oh. So yeah, one thing that I remember, how I specifically, like, I am afraid of a lot of things. Okay, actually, is that a lie? You know, okay, hold on. Like, I was going to say that there's a couple of things that I know for sure I'm afraid of. I would say in general, I probably have less fear than the average person. I would probably say that. Because another aspect of courage is just accepting the nature of reality, the metaphysical nature of this reality, having courage to face it, right? Alan Watts has talked about that, metaphysical courage, just to realize that this life that we're looking at is playing out on the screen in front of us, and we have a human body that reacts with fear to things, right? It's like when you're watching a scary movie, you see things, you know, you get scared. I can't even watch horror movies. I used to watch horror movies to kind of help me feel again when I was in a really numb state in my life, and I had a lot of horrifying feelings going on inside of me that I couldn't really feel or, you know, get out in the world. I used to watch these horror movies so that I would feel something and I would see something that projected the horror of what I felt inside. It's very weird that I went through that. Thank you so much for that, Veronica. I saw that about my courage. So, yeah, and so as humans, we go through that too, right? We decide to watch a movie, and we get caught up in it as if it were real, right? That's part of the entertainment, that's part of the play, and that's how we are in this life. When we have near-death experiences, or when we are close to death, or even when we're sleeping, we get to glimpse that this is something that, okay, so right now we can experience a moment of courage as there is some clown honking and calling me ma'am, which I don't respond to. So we're going to keep talking. Anyway, so we experience in courage, what was I talking about? I think, well, that was really unfortunate.
Can I get you to pull forward just about 15 feet, please?
Oh, are you coming in here?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I apologize.
Oh, that's fine.
You were very into your conversation there.
Yeah, you're live on YouTube right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How's it going?
I'm doing good.
No problem. Sorry.
Sorry, ma'am.
That's okay. So this is one thing that I learned about during this entire time is that I don't respond to ma'am anymore. Actually, if I'm out in public, I don't respond to anything that's not my name. Do you hear how loud this truck is? Oh my God, that guy just drove away. Oh no, he did. He did go in there. I was going to say, excuse me. You know what's funny is I thought I should move before I get on this call. So here we go. That's right. It is the live show. That's how you know. All right. So, yeah, you guys got to hear my cool, loud truck. I'm going to use my notes to get back on track. Let me know right now where you all are tuning in from. Like, I like to know what you guys are doing, okay? Are you taking the subway to work? Are you at work? Yeah. What are you up to? Is it bedtime where you are? I know I have some viewers overseas. Working at home in Sacramento, watching you, LOL. Nice. That's from Steve, Sacramento. Woods of Michigan. I feel exactly like Montana. No way. You know I'm going to have to disagree with that. I don't think anything as is anywhere, even in Canada, it's not as beautiful as Montana. But that's pretty good. That poor guy. He's like, you were really into your call. I'm like, yes, this is what I'm telling you. Like, people here are generally polite. You know, when that guy first started talking, I assumed he was going to ask me for directions because he was on his phone talking. Feels like, exactly. Yeah, there's a difference. I thought he was going to ask me for directions. And that was like my city programming coming in because people in the city are rude like that for no reason. I remember being in LA, St. Louis, Missouri. I remember being in LA at the, or no, Hollywood. Yeah, LA at the observatory. And Colorado going to do canning, putting food up. Nice. And I was in a horrible relationship at the time that looked a lot better than it actually was. And we were having a flat out fight. There was this like overlook where you could see the Hollywood sign. And it was really, really long. Like there was a lot of room. So we weren't like we weren't yelling and screaming, but we were having this terse conversation and blah, blah, blah. And some girl comes up and goes, excuse me. It was like, not girl. It was like a woman, like a young woman, like 20 something. Can you take a picture for us? And there were like a ton of people everywhere that they could have asked instead. And it was really quite funny. I looked at her and I said, no. And of course, the person I was in a relationship with was highly agreeable and he just said, okay, and went and did it. To me, that was extremely rude. I would never do that anyway. Anyway, so my mind, I was thinking that guy was like a city person, but I feel people out here aren't really all that rude, so I should keep that in mind. All right. So yeah, Alan Watts talked about the metaphysical courage. And yeah, he proposed that life is kind of like a movie or a video game. UK here, watching and working at home. And that has actually been my experience. Duck eggs for your child. Extra inspiration from listening to me. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad. Duck eggs. Good for you. Well, I'm glad to know ducks are useful for something because we have some that came with the chickens that we have on the farm, and I'm finding them to be very useless. I hope those eggs are good because then I will know that they're worth keeping around. So yeah, that's something I've actually been thinking about lately is the nature of this reality because it's feeling very overwhelming lately. It's feeling so overwhelming. Yeah. And that was one thing that I kind of had problems with the near-death experiences that I've had, where it was like, you leave this reality, you experience something that's way more real. It's kind of like how the only way you know that a dream is because you wake up, right? When you're sleeping and you're in that dream, you think it's completely real, right? You're not, unless you're a lucid dreamer. I used to be a lucid dreamer. You become completely aware that it's like, when you wake up, that's how you go, oh, wow, that was just a dream. But when you're sleeping, you didn't realize it, right? So, dying is kind of like that. Dying is kind of like that. You wake up and you go, oh man, whew, that was a crazy dream. And then you're like, oh crap, I have to go back again because they started my heart again. Someone did CPR on me, damn it. I'm gonna go back to the frigging earth plane. All the annoying humans, all the stupid rules, gravity, all that. So it's like just so peaceful when you can kind of realize in your life that it's weird because it's like you start realizing that things matter in some way and they also don't matter in another way. It's very strange. I have been really getting into, I found a near-death experiences channel that I've been watching. And it just brings me so much comfort, especially when I find elements that feel familiar to me, because a lot of times I hear people talk about near-death experiences, and as some of you know, I've had 3 of them so far, essentially. And mine have never been like what people typically talk about, like, oh, I saw a tunnel and my family members were there and God told me I had to come back. Like, that's not what my experience was like. My experiences were like very different. But there are some universal like feelings and truths that I start to kind of realize. Whoops. And yeah, one of them is that you keep getting the message that the good that you did in life is what really matters. The people that you cared about, the kind acts that you did, and you see the negative things you've done and the impact it has. Like, it seems very elementary, to be honest. It seems very simple. Sometimes you just have to accept that the answers in life are simple. But you also get a sense that the bad things that you did, you know, like everything is okay. And everything is forgiven and you're unconditionally loved. And it's like kind of frustrating because you want to believe that people who do really bad things are going to suffer and be punished. Maybe they are, I don't know, but that's not the impression that I've gotten. How have you all been doing? I've been thinking so much lately. Those of you who follow me on Instagram, I post mostly on Instagram. My posts go through to Facebook from Instagram, but yeah, I mostly just post there. I haven't really felt like I had the gumption to, or like the strength or the energy to come on here and talk to people. Like I've been really struggling lately. I made some decisions that were not from a place of courage over the past 2 years, or a year and a half, you know, since the panty started. I have had some really great moments for myself where I felt that I was courageous. And some where I really wasn't. And I just try to think, how can I improve that for next time, you know? One little thing that I started doing that I feel really helped me develop that virtue was when I was a kid. You grow up in a single parent home, you know, I don't know, it's just your mom. I used to feel scared at night. I've heard that this is a normal thing and that it's normal for the boys to feel scared and try to do things too. I remember we'd go to bed and my little brother would set up Home Alone style traps around the house so that if someone tried to come in and get us, bad things would happen to them. Like I remember he used to put toy cars on the stairs. So I guess, you know, if someone tries to break in or they're walking up the stairs, oh, they're going to fall, right? But I remember I used to be so scared of noises that went bump in the night. You know, I used to be terrified, and eventually I would live on my own, and after that I'd have a roommate. But I just remember realizing one day that a couple of things. I remember thinking, okay, so I'm feeling this primal fear because I just heard this strange noise in the middle of the night and I'm feeling vulnerable. But then I remember having this logical thought with myself where I was like, okay, so this is somebody actually attempting to break in my house right now. The fact that I heard, and I heard this, okay, so, you know, like this gives me time to react. And I know this house better than they do. In fact, I can navigate this house in the dark. And what is it that this person is probably not expecting? This person is probably not expecting someone to come, you know, out of the dark and confront them, right? So I remember thinking that. And so I developed this thing that I started doing, forcing myself to do, which was anytime I heard a scary noise in the middle of the night, I instantly, and I wake up really quick, like very easily to noises and stuff like that. I have like superhuman hearing sometimes. So I wake up, I sit up in bed with my eyes open. I instantly get out of bed and I go directly to where I heard the sound, very quietly. And sometimes, like, I used to even try to make a scary face. Because don't you think? I even thought about, like, as a single woman living, like, when I lived in the mountains or something like that, I even thought about keeping a creepy mask. Because, like, don't you think if you were trying to break into someone's house and, like, someone with the scream mask, like, looked around the corner in the dark, like, you'd probably freak out and just run, right? I don't know. Right? To me, I just think if someone's coming in your house, like, you have the jump on them, right? You know this place. They're not expecting you to confront them quietly in a creepy manner, like from a horror movie, right? So yeah, and I still do that. And it's funny because, yeah, that actually happened to me last night on the farm. I just heard like bang, bang. And I'm like, oh, I woke up, like listening. And David's gone, right? He's on a road trip. And I'm like, look at the phone, it's 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, what the hell? And then I just, yeah, I went up and looked around the house in the dark. And you know what's funny is like when you kind of act on your courage in a moment of fear, you get a bit of adrenaline, which kind of it numbs you down from feeling afraid, and it gives you extra strength in your body. So yeah, I just kind of went and checked that out, and obviously there was no problems. And when I went and lied back down, I could hear the cats meowing out there. So I'm like, oh, those little critters went and did something, knocked something over or something like that. It could have been the ducks, except I got rid of that goose who was always coming and knocking on the window. He lives with the cows in the pasture now, which is a whole story unto itself that I've been thinking about. But how this cow lost his family, his woman got taken by a coyote, and it was so sad because they both went through the winter together, huddling it out, making it through in the cold, and then she got killed right when spring came. She didn't get to enjoy the beautiful summer. And I learned that geese are very social creatures. So, yeah, it was like hard for him. He was really despondent at first. He used to be really plucky and very loud and aggressive. And he was really meek after he was on his own and his woman was gone. And he just moped around for so long. And I do have resentment toward the ducks. I can't lie. I'll talk about that in another video. I'm not keen on them. They're very dumb. Anyway, so then suddenly we started noticing that the goose was following the cows. Now the cows, there's 4 of them out there on the pasture, and they generally stick together. But I'm like, why is the goose like, he wasn't like up with them, but he was like, you kind of look at him, you see him kind of like near the cows, or like, because you guys have seen on Instagram, like, this, what my front window looks like. There's space galore. And the goose is kind of nearby, but eventually he keeps getting closer and closer. And now he just hangs out with the geese. He's one of them now. He lost his family and he doesn't really fit in with them, but they've taken him in. And now, you know, he went through that journey, and I really felt for him this whole time because that's just like me. Didn't have a family. Don't really fit in with anyone, anywhere, on anything. But there are people who take me in from time to time. And this poor little goose, I don't know, it's really funny. I saw him this morning. He's getting pretty fat. I don't know what he's eating out there, but he's doing just fine. It's learning from those cows, I guess. Oh. So what else did I want to talk about? Oh, I remember one of my favorite quotes from the Iliad, Homer's Iliad, is when Odysseus returns, right? He's been away. He's a king, and he's been away having these adventures, fighting these monsters, getting himself and his men out of these horrible situations over and over again. He comes back to his kingdom to see his queen, and he's an old man looking all disheveled. He's unrecognizable. And he comes into his palace, his home, and it's filled with suitors. These are men who have all showed up to try and take his beautiful wife Penelope now that he's assumed dead because he's been gone for so long. And he says to himself, "Take courage, my heart. You've been through worse than this. Be strong, saith my heart. I'm a soldier and I've seen worse sights than this." So I really love that. It's like he's speaking to his heart, asking himself to have courage, and his heart is speaking back to him and saying, "I got you. I've seen worse than this." And I think that's another gift from my childhood during these difficult times, is that I've seen worse. I have seen worse sights than this. This is getting pretty bad. Hey Valerie, good to see you. Yeah, it's on my Instagram. and on my Facebook if you put your notifications on. So yeah, when I see corruption, when I see tyranny, when I see power grabs, when I see people being terrified to speak out or act out against things that are supremely unjust to basic human common sense and dignity, my heart says, be strong. We've seen worse than this. And who knows, worse may be yet to come. There's no point in worrying, as worrying is the false belief that thinking about something can prevent it from happening. Although in Stoic philosophy, it is said that he robs future ills of their strength who has perceived their coming beforehand, right? Which means essentially, if something bad's going to happen to you in the future, but you've already prepared for it, it's not going to be as bad. So I guess from that, what I would take is to prepare to the best of your ability for anything you think may be coming in the future. Yeah, but as we know, the serenity prayer, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I really love that because basically, if you can't change it, don't worry about it. That's why I have never voted a day in my life. I don't play these games. I don't play games with politicians. That's one thing I've been seeing is people saying, oh, I voted conservative in Alberta and look what happened. It's like, oh, I see. So you think if you voted for a different party, something different would have happened? These are people who, they never learned the whole Coke and Pepsi joke in marketing, right? And I remember this from like the 80s or the 90s. It was, which is better, Coke or Pepsi? And they were rivals, right? You had the Coke people and the Pepsi people. And then what you realize is eventually they realize it's the same company who are just, riling people up to choose the wisdom to know where to hide the bodies. That's a good one too. But you have these people who, they didn't realize that they were just getting riled up so that they pick a side, so that they become loyal. I'm a Coke girl, I'm a Pepsi girl, right? And it's like, well, no, you're both getting played because it's the same thing. And now they've just gained your loyalty, right? If you can convince humans to be against something else, then, they have a lot of strength in that. There's a lot of strength and resistance, right? Whereas before, if you were neutral, right? And when you're resisting something, you're not on your game. You're not on your path. You're not thinking about your values. You're not, improving your community and your life. You're sitting there going, I hate this, and you're pushing against this and that, right? Distracted. So yeah. I think about what many of the people who I looked up to would be doing in this day and age. Values are more important than parties' representatives. I agree, but values are more important than parties' representatives. And I think of Diogenes. I love, generally in history and in movies, books, I love the characters that were just so on their own game and so in their own thing that they were just undisturbed. Concept of pendulums and reality transurfing. I don't know what that is. Let us know what that is. I have heard of reality transurfing. Do not put your faith in man. Exactly. But Diogenes was a philosopher. I think it he was a Greek or a Roman philosopher, and he was a Stoic who just lived his life on his own terms. And I think he even lived out of a barrel. And I think he might have even done aesthetic stoicism, where he slept on a rock and maybe he ate bread and water and that's it, kind of thing. And he ended up getting a great reputation just for being very wise and influential. He seemed like to be like a master of reality and a master of the samsara, the wheel of human suffering, right? And Alexander the Great heard about him, and he really wanted to meet him. At the time, he might have been considered the most powerful man in the world. And so he said, bring me to Diogenes when he got. So he goes and they bring him there, and Alexander the Great tells him, like, I've heard about you far and wide, with all the power that I have, in this whole kingdom, this region. What can I do for you? And Diogenes looks up to him and says, well, you're in my sun right now. You can just move out of the way, please. That's it, right? That's how little of a care this guy had for, typical power or people who, are trying to be high and mighty. That really cracks me up. I just love that. I've been dealing with this kind of nonsense my whole life. Growing up in the school system. I remember and I think realizing as a kid, like my mother, first realizing that people who are in charge or who are older or who are in authority over you or who are richer than you. My mother was richer than me when I was a kid until she took my money. Well, my mother might have been poor, but to me, she was richer than me. She had more money than more power, more status. What she said went. And so then I kind of believed. Diogenes believed true happiness comes from rejecting all societal norms. Exactly. Thank you for that, Haze Days. Yeah, I would love to read more about Diogenes, actually. So I learned, basically the pendulum is that when you're actively fighting against something, you're actually giving your energy and making it stronger. 100% agree with that. Totally agree with that. Yeah. Can you guys hear the train? Watch now, some it's not politically correct. Now somebody on 4chan will be able to figure out, based on that train, the angle of the sunlight and the time of day, exactly where I am. But anyway, what was I talking about? This is fun. I have missed chatting with people on YouTube, with my crew, because it seems like there's a lot of crazy people out there lately. But what was I talking about? I was getting in a groove with it. Can't remember. Let's go to the journal. What have I not spoken about? Yeah, letting the show play out. We talked about that. The Iliad, we talked about that. Father's Day. Yep. We talked about all those things. Have you all hit like for me? It looks like you have. If you haven't hit like, could you do that? Please. And make sure you have notifications on for my channel. Thank you. Make sure you have the notifications on for my channel. So I'll probably be doing more lives. I am shadow banned on YouTube. To me, that's a badge of honor when corrupt organizations extremely dislike you and go out of their way to try and cause problems for you. That means you are a virtuous person of influence who has power that they're scared of. So that's great. I feel great about it. course, I don't like it, but that to me is a badge of honor. And yeah, I'll have to figure something else out in the future. I really like the idea of getting back to mailing things, like making up a booklet and mailing it. Faxing, I'm going to say no. Sorry, Larry. I don't like the sounds of the fax machine. I feel like, yeah, printing out old-fashioned newsletters with pictures of those ducks and geese that I don't like. Or booklets and sending those out. I think that would be good too. So yeah. Oh, I got another lady. But yeah, it would be fun. I cannot remember what I was going on about. But yeah, so today at the gas station, this is one thing I really love about small towns is like the people here know me now. And it was like that too when I lived in the Crow's Nest Pass. It's like all the people, they know you. And, you know, for someone like me who doesn't really have family, who doesn't really have close friends anymore, it's nice just to have people that I can interact with in a way that feels socially safe for me, where I know they're not going to be calling and bugging me or showing up at my door or anything like that. Maybe I am quite like Diogenes. I completely reject the society. Although I wouldn't say I'm doing it out of virtue. Well, maybe a bit of it is virtue. Even when I was a kid, I was not interested in the things that the popular kids were interested in. They're trying to get me to smoke or go to parties or boys or anything. I just, no thanks. That's dumb. Why are you guys doing it? Part of it's trauma too. My experience with humans has been very bad. I prefer the animals. Thanks for the likes, guys. Really appreciate that. Getting that up. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about lately on the topic of courage as we're approaching the 1 hour mark. I have been thinking recently about how it is sad, like I said, that I had to develop these traits that are typically masculine traits, right? Of having courage, of being confrontational. You can be confrontational in a diplomatic way, which I've done numerous times. I saw all your comments there about books. I do have a book out on Amazon. You can just, actually, it's probably in the description of this video. And Veronica, yeah, that's funny you wrote about book club. I have been thinking about starting one, an in-person one, but an online one might be fun too. Like a Zoom online book club. Maybe I'll do that. Have you done that? Have you started a book club, Veronica, on your channel? I haven't been on YouTube much. I haven't seen your videos lately. I have to go check what you're up to. Diogenes' rejection of society went to the extreme. I know. I like his philosophy, but I think there's a balance to everything. I know. I was a part of it. A part of what? Oh, yeah. I love extreme people. I love it. I'm going to be honest. I've been taking time off YouTube as well. Oh, wow. That surprises me. You were the one who was making me feel bad about my work ethic. I'm like, oh, she's on YouTube every day. Look at me. I love the extremes. I love extreme people. People could describe me as extreme. There are some elements of my personality that I know are extreme. Even if you look at my video I did about I took that Jordan Peterson personality test, and when it came to disagreeability, I was in the 98th percentile. That is so strange. That's very strange, and it's strange for a woman too. That essentially means if you had a group of 100 people, the two most disagreeable people, I would be one of them. People of character are usually extreme. Thank you. Yep, I agree. It's true. You know what's funny is I have met actually in my life, I've had a lot of normie friends. I like people who are a bit more simple and who are very agreeable, almost as agreeable as I am disagreeable. They're just like sweet, cute people. Like those are the girlfriends I've kind of had in life. And they look at me and they're like inspired by me. And I look at them and how content they seem to be and easygoing. And I'm like, man, I wish I could just be normal. And they look at me and they're like, wow, you're so inspiring, or, whatever. One of them once called me scary, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, I think I'm going to read, you know what? I'm going to read more about Diogenes, and I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about that, because what we're seeing going on in the planet right now, and I knew this before any of this even happened. Like, I've been talking about this for 20 years. I noticed this when I was in elementary school. I was like, what the hell kind of backwards, messed up world and society is this? I need to get away. But now, I feel the things that I've been seeing my whole life are coming to the fore. People are starting to witness, like, what the? Like, okay. People are starting to fight. Say, it's in the Constitution that I have this right. That's why I have this right. It's like, oh, really? You have a right because it's written in the Constitution. Okay, right? Again, that's playing by those rules. To me, I don't go, I am a Canadian citizen, therefore I have rights. No. My rights don't come from what the government tells me about myself. I do have basic ways that I expect to be treated and that I will fight against, but I don't feel entitled to anything. I don't feel entitled to any kind of rights. I don't. I know that these are things that you have to advocate and fight for. We aren't given anything in life. I feel lucky for what I do have, and I get mad when my normal ways of living are taken away, but I don't see them as something that are my rights to be given as a gift from a benevolent government and then taken back when they don't feel like it anymore. Right? I'm gonna live my life the way I want to. And if I get thrown in jail, then I'll live my life in jail the way I want to. I actually had a girl at my old work who was like, Adele, I think if you were in jail, you'd be one of the top chicks in the jail. I was like, thank you. Thank you. I don't know if that's a compliment, but I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you. I'd be like leading the rebellion. I'd be like the Shawshank Redemption if that was me in jail. Thank goodness I've never ended up there or had anything to do with it. Because I'm really picky about my comforts. I remember thinking, well, I was at like a really low time in my life where I was like, I don't want to work. I don't want to be on welfare. I don't want this, that, and the other. I was like, what about these correctional facilities? Like, are they decent? Like, I could just go live there and have activities every day and get a degree and not have to worry about anything. That was a really low point in my life. You create a first self-development group and personal growth club. Yeah, I would. Thank you. I think you would too. You'd be like interviewing people. Veronica would be like, so how did you end up in jail? What was your childhood like? What do you think? Speaking of which, one thing I have been watching on YouTube lately has been the channel called Soft White Underbelly. Has anyone heard of this? I think you guys probably have. The channel is blown up lately. It's got millions of views on each video, and I think it's almost 3 million subscribers. But it brings up for me that phrase, "There but for the grace of God go I," which is a phrase that essentially means if, it's just the grace of God that's preventing me from living that way, or things could have gone differently in my life that I would have been just like that. So it's essentially soft white underbelly. It kind of refers to showing the softer side, the background of people who society sees as undesirables. So he's interviewing prostitutes, drug dealers, drug addicts, pimps, criminals, sex offenders. I really love hearing people's stories about their life and their childhood. That's why I come on here and I share mine. I assume that other people are curious about those things too. But I really love that channel. And I guess part of it is I also miss the coaching I used to do. I really loved people who felt drawn to me and just like listening and asking questions and learning about them. I used to have a method back then, but I think I might get back into coaching now, and it might just be something a bit more casual, where it's like, do you want to experience someone who has legitimate curiosity about who you are as a person, your past, what your interests are, what your strengths and weaknesses are, what could work out for you, what might not. Like, it's just someone who can hold possibilities for you and see things that maybe you couldn't see before. But I really think that just general curiosity about other humans is a completely lost art that I still happen to maintain. I still have general curiosity for people. So yeah. Anyway, I hope this was an interesting talk for you all. I saw someone ask if I am Black. I'm gonna have to I have a video about that you can go check if you like. It's called Am I Black? Look it up. Go check it out. That being said, it's very important to consider the terminology and where these words come from and what they mean. Oh man, that's hilarious. This woman never posts. Very weird comment, or very weird content this person wrote. Something like that. Thank you for that. I love that comment. I'm going to put it on my Instagram today, so you all check it out. My Instagram is Adelle Ramcharan on Instagram. I only add women. Sorry about that. Because I don't want any DM sliding or creepy comments or anything. So yes. Also, she blocked my other channel, Bond Life. I don't know who you're talking about. You might be talking about me because I have a block list a mile long. So it might be me. Hello, thanks for joining my live anyway. I haven't blocked you here yet. I like your hilarious comments. Anyway, you all. So, I will be back. Subscribe to notifications. Keep up with this and on Instagram. And you will know when I'll be back. Maybe we'll talk about Diogenes next. That might be fun. I also kind of wanted to talk about what's going on right now too. So yes, keep in touch. Thank you for the person who just said you bought my book in 2017. That's amazing. It's no longer for sale. Things have changed way too much, but I know that book helped so many people back then, and I'm so grateful for that, and I'm grateful for your support as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and for joining today. And thank you, Veronica. It's good to see you, as always. Be well. I love your book. Oh, yeah. Veronica bought my Amazon book. And I was able to sign it when we met up in Montana. So that was cool. If you're coming to Montana, let me know. It's lonely out here. Okay, everyone. See you, Vega. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Bye, Valerie. Good to see you all. Take care. The link is down. Yep, it's not available anymore. But you all know me. I'm coming back with something else. Highly recommended book. Aw, thank you so much. See you all.